Greetings and salutations from central Louisiana, just a few miles west of Dry Prong. Greetings and salutations from central Louisiana, just a few miles west of Dry Prong. And today I'm going to give you a quick overview of what I've accomplished so far with this splitting of the tractor. Rachel lied, it weren't near that easy, but it's a part. She very conveniently forgot to mention this bolt inside that you got to get to through the starter access. This one was this one is the one I'm talking about. This one you get through from the outside. This one you got to go through the starter access where the gear goes in, but after that come out, it come right apart. And kudos to Chris and his tractor splitting stand. So far it has not fallen on anybody and nobody has died, so we're in good shape. Yesterday, with the help of my son, or mostly the efforts of my son, he brought his new tractor splitting stand that he designed and had fabricated. Looks nice. Seems to have done the job well. Even has the provision here of elevating the stand up and down to make adjustments to it. When we were doing it, we got all the bolts out and then it would not separate. And we were prizing and carrying on, but you see this bolt right here, this hole. This is where the starter sets in on top of the ring gear. But behind it, there's a bolt right here, it's hidden. And you can't get to it unless you take the starter out to get there, which is something I think a lot of people overlook. But this one's on the outside and it's the head's out here, but this one's on the inside, so this was one we missed. And after tugging and carrying on for a while, we finally managed to realize there was another bolt somewhere else we need to pull out. I have gone ahead and pulled the pressure plate and the clutch out. As you see, a lot of debris fell out when we did it, and I'm gonna have to clean up a little bit more. Sprayed it with brake cleaner and wiped it down, but the flywheel looks to be in pretty fair shape in there. The clutch was froze up, so that was a problem. That was the main reason we broke the tractor. I've got a major grease venture to tackle in here, so we shall see what happens when I actually get back down in here. But yeah, there's a lot of grease in here. It needs to be, I'll have to get some diesel in here and wipe it all out pretty good. I'm sure that most of this comes from over greasing the throwout bearing. The throwout bearing looks to be, as my son said, there's a little bit of wobble in it. So I have a replacement for that. But that's another thing to be done. But like I said, the main thing I got to do now is clean up most of the stuff in here and get it squared away. You can see when the tractor separated, the two sides, this side dropped a little bit and kind of slid off, but I'll have to do some alignment to make sure it goes back together properly, but it wasn't too bad to split. Main thing was the splitting stand. Once we got all the bolts out of it, it just split apart rather easy. Now the main thing I got to do is to clean up and get it squared away, and once I get it good and cleaned up, we get it back together and we can take this tractor on the road. If you notice, there's been some interesting wear here on the fingers on this pressure plate, whereas I don't think things were right. Well, I mean, I know the clutch was froze up and giving problems, so, but here the critter is, and we will be moving it right along. This is going into the dumpster. I have a replacement pressure plate over here, and amongst all the parts, replacement pressure plate, new disc, new pilot bearing and throwout bearing. So I'm going to do a replacement of the entire system right there. So this should be great. We'll be moving right along and get this tractor back up and running. As I said before, we had split this tractor yesterday with the help of Chris. Came and did the lion's share of it and did a great job. He did a super job in constructing this splitting stand. And the next challenge will definitely be in get the tractor back together. Okay, I'm gonna have to level it because I know this one's showing the back side's down a little bit and the front, this one's up a little bit, so I'm gonna have to do this to it. I'm gonna have to raise up the front and lower the rear a little bit to get it back together. But I think there's enough tools here to do that without too much trouble. I got myself a special floor jack to go under here. It's a high-rise 4-ton, but even with it being a high-rise, I need to add a block of wood on it to get it to the right elevation. But yeah, this is all going to get there. We're moving forward every day. So the only problem I've got today is I've got to go to the doctor's office, so I really can't get dirty. But like I say, earlier the inside, the flywheel looks good. There's no grooves cut or anything. It was just all bound up in there, which, you know, if I could have got it unbound without doing all this, I would have done that, and then I wouldn't have to have split it. But in splitting it, I do find, you know, like I say earlier, I've got to go in here and clean all this excess grease that somebody pumped in there a while back and see if we can't get this back to running good. But luckily I've got some leftover diesel from when I cleaned out the rear end. We'll get some of that in there and see if we can't clean it out. At least cut out the excess grease. Won't get it all, but we'll clean it out enough that I can work with it. Having still just tinkering because I can't really get dirty today. Haha. This pilot bearing doesn't really want to budge. I'll have to play with it a little more, maybe put a little heat on it because I want to replace that while I'm in here. But if I can't get it to budge, I may have to just take the flywheel off and take it over and see if I can't press that out or punch it out. It's just another slight obstacle to overcome.